It's nice, that. Where'd you get it from?
Vinted, 20 quid. And we're live. And we're live on the View from the Ninian live stream where I'm parading a brand new jacket. And Ben Price is 29-20 season. Ben Price, how are you?
I'm not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. We'll let the numbers rack up as we get ready to live stream for the next sort of 30 minutes, 45 minutes. We'll see how we get on. Tom Phillips, unfortunately, can't join us because he's working. That's the thing with time differences. It's actually tomorrow in Australia. So he's unable to get involved. But Nathan's already on. He says, good evening, gents. Good evening, Nate. Chard Magic says, oi, oi. And oi, oi, Mr. Ryan Chard. And Lee Spears says, all right, boys. All right, Lee, how's it going? We'll let the numbers kind of trickle in, but we're going to cover off the last couple of games. Barnsley, Burton, look back a little bit at the transfer window and then talk about Rotherham on Saturday. Ben, what have you made of the last couple of games?
It's been all right, isn't it? It was nice to finally slap someone. It's been one
Tom
of those
Phillips,
ones that...
Skiving from work. I thought you
Not
had
like
to
you got
get
the
something
busy...
live this morning.
Yeah, busiest day of the year, I think he said in the chat. And
busiest day of the year, and there he is,
slacking off already.
Away. Unbelievable. I'm going to tell your employer. You're not even really Australian, Tom. They might throw you out. Anyway, carry on, Ben.
We're getting the Australian ice on him.
Yeah.
I forgot where we were. What were we saying? Yeah, just nice to finally slap the team with Barnsley. And I'll be honest, not a bad result. Like, you look at how it's gone the last few weeks. There's been worse results at Burton's place, so I'll take a draw there as well.
Ronnie Morgan, good evening all. Good evening, Ronnie. Sam CCFC says, good evening, Benz. Evening, like Unai Emery, innit? Evening. Right, let's just get into it. Let's start with Barnsley. Obviously, Barnsley was about a week ago. In fact, a week ago today. The first game without use of Salak, Ben Price. Roger Parker says that jacket, Ben. 20 quid off Vinted from a woman in Great Wakering. That's in Essex. I haven't given a feedback yet. That reminds me, I should give a feedback.
First game. Do it live on the first ever Vinted live feedback. Go on.
I will do the Vinted live feedback while I ask you the question, Ben, because I can multitask. That's how incredible I am. So, Ben, obviously, last week we played Barnsley. It was the first game without Yusuf Salak because Yusuf Salak was injured. There was worries over how the team was going to be set up, Ben. But we didn't need to be worried, did we? Kellyman in the false nine. And it was a pretty good performance last week.
Yeah. Everyone sort of there, myself included, thinking, right, Robbo's nailed on to start here. 5 stars, well deserved, because it is a lovely jacket.
Great price as well. Yeah, I thought Robbo was going to start, but he didn't. Anyway, carry on.
No, I threw it in the Grange just before the game. I had their famous GFC burger. Highly recommend.
Good pub, good burger.
Great pub. And then, yeah, look at the team. I was very surprised not to see him on the bench and seeing Kellyman as the obvious 9. I was worried. But I think, yeah, absolutely nailed it. I think BBM was spot on. I think looking at it, I imagine that's probably the closest he wants us to play normally without sort of, if you were looking at an ideal BBM team, that might be what he's sort of looking for more than he is with Salak and Robbo. I think he's got them there because they're too good not to play. But in his system, it wouldn't surprise me if he does prefer a false 9. And you can see why, because that's the best result we've had at home since the Plymouth game. And we were outstanding.
We were outstanding. And I think BBM has talked about how he sees playing Kellyman at the 9. He said he's seen him play there at a younger age and it sees him there in his natural position. And I think the link-up play, particularly between him and Willock, was unbelievably good. I think there were moments in that half where we were playing football like I think Cardiff fans could only ever have dreamed about. It was quite ridiculous at times how good we were playing. But that doesn't really tell the whole story, does it, Ben? Because as you've written so eloquently here, they were shite.
They were poor. Not the worst team I've ever seen. That still comfortably goes to Wigan. But yeah, they were struggling. And that's a long way to go on a cold Tuesday night to come away with a 4-0 humping. There wasn't many of them, but it can't have been a fun trip for them. Fair play.
Lee Spears says about Tom Phillips, he's watching on the toilet. Sam CCFC says, I was also a culprit of the piss queue jump. You're not alone. We'll get to that. Reese Lasky says, evening all. Evan says, nice to see a Cardiff side getting the ball down and playing football. It's true, isn't it?
It was nice to see Evan.
It was nice to see
Evan. It was nice to see him.
Agree, the jacket's absolutely top drawer. Look, let's more love for the jacket, please. More love for the jacket. 5 stars to the seller. We've already done that live on stream. First ever Vinted feedback live on stream. The game started quick, didn't it, Ben? NG's goal to open the game was, again, just a really nice bit of link-up play, wasn't it? And it was nice to see NG getting on to the end of things like he was doing last season.
Yeah, it's a cracking finish as well. He did really well. I'll be honest, I didn't see much of it. I was too busy trying to name players that have had Welsh caps from Powys with Ryan. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, the limbs were good. So it was an impressive start. And I think that really helped us kick on. The confidence was up there. And I think Barnsley's head were down from, was it 3rd minute in we scored?
Third
It
minute was
was,
the goal. Yeah, it kind of. I mean, you go away from home, keep it tight for the first 10 minutes, you might have a chance. But 3 minutes in, that's gone out the window, isn't it?
yeah, and they were pulled apart as well. The run down the wing and sort of cut across and the finish there. It's going to be very disheartening for any sort of team to come to, especially when you're there at a stadium. But we've got it back as a fortress, which is lovely. I think that's the big thing that's been missing
And
from us in
nine,
my
eight,
enjoyment.
nine unbeaten at home or something. Now
It's
I can't remember.
ridiculous considering
Yeah, it's a
how
long
bad
run.
we were. I think since COVID, really, after lockdown came and the fans were back, I think our run at home has been terrible. But yeah, to bring that back and sort of step up, and the players really seem to enjoy playing here again. It was nice.
Gareth Dunning says, "Hey, hangfire lads, misses up the loft and have no ladder. Can't leave her up the loft, can I? You can, mate. If she's got some snacks, she'll be fine for the next half an hour, 40 minutes, shall we say." Lee Spears says, "Very good from Tanner to draw 2 defenders before the pass to NG." Yeah, Tanner, I think now 4 assists or 4 goal contributions in the last 4 games, Ben. I was quite critical of him against Wickham when he was passing too soon, trying to get crosses off too early. But it seems like now he's getting back into his groove, isn't he?
Yeah, massively. He offers something completely different. I got a couple of mates who have been to the last couple of games, and they're not really City fans. They haven't kept up with this there for a while, but 2 of them have mentioned Tanner stood out for them in particular, and it shows he's. I know we've said it before, but he's not your typical sort of like, you can tell he's not been in the academy. You tell he's come up from non-league. He's still raw. He's still got something about him, and defenders find that so hard to defend against. And playing him on his favoured right hand side as well makes a huge difference. It just allows him. He just looks a lot more natural, comfortable, and happy to cut inside.
Hugh Grono says, "Random question, gents. Is the name of the podcast due to Ninian Park, or do you sit in the Ninian?" I think it was Ninian Park, to be honest. I used to sit in the grandstand. Then I was in the Canton stand. I've never actually sat in the Ninian stand, but I think we named it. I answered this question because it was named about 15 years ago. It just kind of flowed off the tongue, view from the Ninian, and it was like a bit of a shout out to Ninian Park, obviously, when we were just moving across to the CCS. So that's where it probably came from more than anything. The Ninian stand probably only didn't really exist when we started the podcast. Willett got 2 goals in that game. I think him and I mentioned it at the top though, Ben, but him and Kellyman's link up was just absolutely lovely, wasn't it? And I think Kellyman got an assist. Willett got a couple of goals. It was just really nice to see the production from that forward line, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think BBM spoke quite highly of Willock before. Was it before or after the game? I can't remember. It all blurs into one at the moment. But talking about how he's fitter, he's leaner, and he's starting to see the best out of him. Sort of seeing the Willock that QPR saw when he was at his peak for them, and he's becoming a real asset. Every time he's played recently, he's looked dangerous. He's looked sharp. He's wanting to get on the ball, and he's causing havoc for defenders. And that's exactly what you want from a winger. And yeah, he's starting to sort of draw end product with it now as well. Is it 6 goals, 4 or 5 assists? It's
Something
not bad
like
for
that,
a player that sort of, I'll be honest, we all sort of wrote off and sort of weren't expecting much from this year. So he's another player that's sort of come good and really done well. And probably the step down to League One for a year has probably done him the world of good.
So 6 goals, 5 assists in 26 matches. Obviously started 18, so that's a goal or assist basically every 1.5, 2 games basically, or every 2.5 games. Sorry. So yeah, he's on really good form at the moment. I think we're just seeing a player with confidence. Every time he kind of went down the left, every time he got the ball down there, he really did worry the fullback, and he got beyond him so many times. And I think, yes, he got 2 goals, but it would be nice to see him get a hat trick. But I think that's a bit too much to ask, isn't it, at this stage of the season? Kellyman, let's talk about him, Ben. Obviously, the surprise over Robinson not playing was probably dulled by the fact that Kellyman put in a pretty good performance himself. It wasn't exactly leading the line, but he did what you'd expect from a false 9, didn't he? He dropped in, he came and got the ball, he dropped behind the wingers at times and played them in, and then got into the box himself. And he got a goal as well. It was a lovely finish from him, wasn't it?
He's such a tidy player, isn't he? You can see he's going to go far. I think there's no doubt in a few years, if he stays injury free like he has with us, he's going to play in the Premier League. He looks like a very, very capable player. Is he 20 years old?
2021. He's young.
like potential there is frightening for him. He's so clever off the ball. Just his movement is sometimes miles ahead of the rest of the team. It can sometimes he's getting in a spot that you can't really see, and you look at that and you go, "Yeah, you can see that someone that's trained with a lot of top players like he has done at Chelsea, and he's a really really smart player. He's just nice to watch, isn't he?
I think that's it. I think, when we've signed a lot of young players in the past, we've signed people like Tommy Doyle. Obviously, when he came in from Man City, Tommy Doyle was just a very tidy, very neat footballer. But Kellyman just has a bit of something else about him. He's a bit more like Ruben Colwell. He's a bit more of a magic man, I think, in the middle of the park. And I think there were moments in that game. Obviously, the first goal, I think people were questioning why Robinson wasn't started. And within 5 minutes, he's kind of played the ball
That's
that
why.
Tanner in that led to the goal. And it's like, okay, I don't think Robinson would have done that, frankly. And I like Robinson. It's just Kellyman has a different way of doing things to him. Jonathan Mordecai says, do you think we can convince Chelsea to let us loan Kellyman again in the Championship? Well, there is talk that there is something in place potentially for that to happen. So we'll have to wait and see what happens at the end of the season. Obviously, it depends on where we are in the league and how things are going. But I can see it again because as much as he's a good player, Ben, he's not going back into Chelsea's first team, is he?
No,
and another year
not.
of development in the Championship, especially when he hasn't played so much football because he's been injured, it's probably going to be beneficial to him.
I'd be massive for him. And as long as we keep BBM and we're doing what we're doing, big clubs are going to want to send players to develop. You've seen what he's done in a few months there. He was eased back in at a proper program to get back up to match fitness after a horrible injury, and then came into the squad and is now starting to really make a difference. You can't imagine clubs are looking at that and not taking notice of how we're developing players, and that's a huge draw with BBM. That's why Liverpool loaned to Scanlon. Like, he's very highly thought of for them. Like, my mate's a Liverpool fan, really, really likes him, thinks he's a very tidy player, but he's just got to be managed properly. And I think BBM is perfect for him to be in there and sort of get some football under it. Probably, I know he scored against us for Millwall, but his sort of loan didn't work out there as much as he wanted to due to injuries. I imagine Liverpool have sent him here with the idea of getting a bit of football, being a bit of cover, and just sort of like recuperating and sort of getting back to match fitness with possibly another loan next year with us if we go up.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Mordecai says, do you think we can keep Scanlon off the physio table? Looks a very good player, but injury prone. And I think if he was coming in as a first team player, I think I'd be more worried about it. But obviously, he's coming just to kind of relieve the pressure on Bagan. And I think that's fine. I think if he is going to be slightly injury prone and he is only going to come in for half an hour here and there to rest Bagan, then I think we will get the best out of him. I know he went off on Friday during the game he was playing in just before he signed for us, and the report was that he was injured. But I don't think Liverpool would have let the move go ahead if he was actually injured. So I'm excited to see him. I think he's going to do what he needs to do, which is let Bagan have a bit of rest, because Bagan has played the most minutes by a long way. So Bagan must be in his recovery boots now going, thank God for that. So hopefully that's he will fulfill the purpose that he's brought in for. And like you say, Ben, if he is good enough and he does put in some good performances between now and the end of the season, maybe we can keep him. Ben, the only thing you've put down here is a disappointment. I mean, Barnsley were disappointing in themselves. I think let me find the comment about them related to Wigan. Going to be 1 second. Going to take Jonathan Mordecai again. Going to take something especially bad for a team to look worse than Wigan. My view on Barnsley was that they weren't necessarily worse than Wigan, but they came, they tried to do something and they failed at it massively. They looked okay for bits of the game when they came forward, but they were so open at the back that it kind of was all for nothing, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were a very, like, where we were sat, you can sort of see the defenders in the midfield, like with City, they're constantly talking to each other. There was no communication from the Barnsley side. That isn't it's not a happy camp there. And I think that showed in the performance because, yeah, it wasn't a cohesive performance from them. I was expecting more, but I think that's probably the story of their season. They've really not got going. It's like sort of the odd win here, sort of keep them out of real trouble. But Hurahan, I don't think is long for that job.
I mean, it all started when they got rid of Max Watters, wasn't it? They loaned him out at the start of the season. It was always going to go downhill for them then. Ben,
we got rid of Watters. We got relegated. Barnsley got rid of Watters.
They're going to get relegated. Half-price tickets, Ben, but it was only 17,000 people in attendance. My view on it was just a couple of days before payday. It was an expensive month if you got paid just before Christmas. There was a home game the Saturday before. I imagine people just made their choice between Saturday and Tuesday. What was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's a weird one. It just feels like just around the city, I don't think there's been enough love for what's going on at Cardiff. And I get it, January. Oh, trust me, I know January's been a very long month. I think we were paid on like the 19th of December. It's been
Yeah.
a long old time since payday. So just I understand it. It's just I'm surprised that I thought there might be a bit more there. 17,000 is below what we normally get. I think like I was expecting 20,000. I know Barnsley only bought like 200. I was a bit disappointed. I don't think there's been enough love and buying from a lot of people to get there. The lads on the pitch have done their job. I understand that there's still a lot of opposition to the regime owning the club and everything with that, but it would be nice to get a bit more support down there and get a bit more atmosphere because for what we're doing, those lads deserve a lot more buzz and a lot more atmosphere there because it was a bit flat. It was a bit uninspiring at times, especially stuff like the family stand.
Marketing?
Oh, 100%. That we know that's been an issue for a while. They're not getting out in the public and sort of doing that stuff enough. They're not like, it's not like BBM's not going out into the community and doing these sort of evenings as well. He's going out and chatting to fans. The club aren't making a song and dance about it, and they should be. It's a really encouraging thing, but the club just seems so averse to any sort of publicity. They kind of like want people to forget we exist at times in the press and just hope they turn up on the Saturday. And I think they really need us to make a song and dance about this and everything good about the club. Like we've wanted this for a long time, a team full of young, exciting players playing really good football. We finally got that. I think get people down there and they'll enjoy it enough. They'll come back after a couple of times this season. I know a lot of neutrals that I spoke to are doing that. So I just like to see the club do more pushing that.
When we had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it was welcome to the revolution. What would it be for BBM? It's January. Well, half season tickets were on sale. It was January. How would you create a pun out of BBM?
Can you put me on the spot here?
I put you on the spot, mate.
Yeah, cheers for that.
No worries.
Easy when it's three of us. Yeah, it's a bit of thinking time when there's three of us.
Lee Spears says midweek fixture is always difficult. I think with kids in school in the morning and the weather was miserable, I think we'll be hitting 24,000 plus by the end of the season. I think you're right. I think that we're going to start, as the weather gets better, as we get closer to the end of the season and the momentum builds up. Maybe it's BB momentum. Does that work for you, Ben? BB momentum.
I'll go with that because that's better than anything I've got. Mine are all sort of old school. Don't send it on WhatsApp. Send it on BBM.
Oh yeah, I like it. And we've got like a BBM like script. Oh wait, we can't really do BBM at the moment. Mandelson. Anyway, yeah.
Political.
Satire. Jonathan Mordecai says Hourihane is apparently a top coach, but not all coaches make good managers. We have seen that. It was also quite interesting in a week. Darryl Clark, I think, came out and said basically that when he was at Barnsley, in so many words, he basically said he wasn't backed. It was like a championship club with a League One budget, and he couldn't make heads or tails of it. And I think there's an underlying problem at Barnsley of resource. Excuse me. I don't know if they know what kind of club they are anymore. A couple of years ago, well, when we were vying for them with the playoffs in the championship sort of 6 years ago. Now we're in League One and they are dropping like a stone. And I think it's like an existential crisis that's probably taken over the club. And lo and behold, Barnsley are losing again. Jonathan Mordecai says the game has probably just kicked off. I'm going to have a quick look at their Twitter.
I'm having a look at that as well.
Yeah, already 1-0 down after what looks like 3 minutes. 4 minutes. And they're playing Northampton as well, so it's a bit of a 6-pointer.
They're in trouble there, aren't they?
They are in trouble if they lose that tonight. Jonathan Mordecai again says, has Bagan played more than Wintle? Got to be close between them. Bagan is around 200 minutes ahead of Wintle. And I think he's about 120 minutes ahead. No, sorry, he's about 100 minutes ahead of Nathan Trott. So Bagan is by far, he's played the most minutes of anyone at the club. I think he's played more than some players. He's played more already this season than people like Callum Robinson played in the whole of last season. So that's the kind of level we're at with Bagan. And I think he does deserve a rest because he still looks competent. He still looks really good. He shored us up really nicely on Saturday against Burton. But I still think that he does need a bit of a break. He does need a bit of a longer rest than just one game. Graham MBE says it was nice to beat a team starting with B. We didn't do that on Saturday. Obviously, we did that against Barnsley. Daniel Wyatt says, yes, boys, as a Swindon-based Cardiff fan, how mental is Hoylett to Swindon? And Sam CCFC says, just as mental as Holloway's meltdown, Dan. Hoylett to Swindon, Ben. Look, I thought he'd retired. I didn't know he had another club in him, but he's clearly gone for it. Holloway and his rants, he's clearly gone for it. What do you think?
Yeah, do you reckon it was all agreed then Holloway did that thing on BBC Swindon and thought, I shouldn't have signed this because that was odd. And yeah, Junior's quite a cool guy. He's the opposite. Everything you've heard with Holloway, Hoylett's the opposite of that. He's like so laid back. He's almost vertical at times. Like really, really nice bloke. So it could be interesting to see how they get on.
I really, 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 really liked Holloway's rant. I don't really know where it came from. Obviously, I know where it came from, but like his intonation and everything within that was hilarious. And I
It's
think
odd.
it is odd, but like I mean, that's a club that's having an absolute shocker at the moment. Obviously, played Ollie Clark in a Virtue Trophy game when they shouldn't have played him. That's got them a fine. Did a substitution at Luton where the player who came on wasn't listed on the bench that no one noticed. And then this whole rant thing at the weekend. It's just like they were doing quite well this season. They've dropped off a little bit. So I wonder if it's him trying to remove the pressure from off the pitch. I don't know, but the rant was absolutely fantastic. So if you
He's
haven't
more
seen it,
angry about that than he was about his captain sticking his finger up players' asses and like violent, like intrusively abusing them. He's just
yeah,
a
banter
weird
in
bloke
it.
to get angry.
Banter in it. He's old school banter. Sorry, I slipped into Mandels. Anyway, let's talk about Burton Albion. Away at Burton Albion on Saturday. Ben, it was a weird game, wasn't it?
I think the whole thing's weird, isn't it? I think Burton's a very weird club, and our sort of history against them's very weird as well. For such a
Yeah,
small club,
we
we've
don't do
not
well
got a good
against them,
track
do
record
we?
there, have we? No.
Yeah, I mean, the day started terribly. Getting to the ground started terribly because I think they clearly oversold the terrace. So there's a terrace behind the goal where a lot of the Cardiff fans are situated with some seats on the left-hand side. And trying to get onto the terrace about 5 minutes before kickoff was absolutely ridiculous. There was 5 or 6 people deep onto the concourse, and they made us walk around the front to kind of put us at the front of the stand, and then insisted there was space either side of us for us to crush in. And I tried to argue this with the steward. And sincerely, if you were one of the Cardiff fans behind me who told me not to argue with the steward, then fuck off forever. Because I think it was beyond a joke about how much it was kind of crowd safety in a sense. There were people on the gangways, there were people either side on the terrace, and the stewards were like, there's space either side, just insisting that we should push in and crush up against other people. And it was absolutely ridiculous. Sam CCFC says couldn't even get down the steps. It didn't get much better, apparently, in the second half. I think Rick Lewis on Twitter sent a photo of somebody else's view where there was 5 or 6 people trying to get onto the terrace themselves. It was really badly organised. And like, it is what it is. We're a big club, and when we come to these places, we're going to bring a lot of people. I think there was 4,500 people in the ground, and about 1,500 or 1,700 of those came from Cardiff. I just think the terrace is oversold, and the stewards were absolute wankers. I just think if you're going to insist there's space, at least make it look like there is a little bit of space. Don't try and push us in against other people. I'm 6'4". I'm quite a big geezer. It's very hard to tell me that I should be going into a space where it doesn't exist. They had to carry some people out in the first half. And I do think that the club should make a complaint. But whatever. It is what it is. It wasn't the best part of the
Burton
game.
fans were sort of then on Twitter going, but there was space in the corners. And I was looking at, like, you look at the photos, there's no room anywhere.
No
That
space.
is packed.
No
It
space.
looked uncomfortable.
I was in a corner. I was in, and Sam says I started the first half in the far right end. There was absolutely zero space. So I was in the left corner. If he was in the right corner, where was the space? It's just, it was just ridiculous. And I was with Josh Watson, and he said they do it all the time at Burton. They always oversell it. So it is what it is. I think one of the tweets, let me find the tweet from MJCCFC. It was to do with the switching round of away ends. The end swapping is killing me on these aways. The sheer number of second half away goals that would have been met with mad limbs, but were at the end of the other ground, and it hurts. It was very hard to see from the away end what happened for the first goal, Ben. I thought it was like a tap in. I only saw the highlights on Sunday evening. Quite a good goal from him, wasn't it? A little overhead kick.
Yeah, it's odd finish, but a good finish. Still can't quite work out how they took the lead from it, but yeah, fair play to the boy.
Long throw. My question marks is over the beloved With Puscod, my hero, my mate. Still love you, With. Could he have stuck his head in a bit stronger? It felt like he kind of cowed away a little bit, in my opinion.
I think there's a few people there, like.
People didn't react to the bouncing ball, did they?
Yeah, I think that was more of it than sort of sticking it just on Pascal. But yeah, probably you'd like to feel like, especially a player of his sort of stature, the way he heads the ball, you think he wouldn't be afraid of getting it going into it, but he did look like he did fanny out of that a little bit.
I don't think anyone wants to be kicked in the head, but one of your jobs as a centre
That
half
is,
is to pull your
yeah.
head where it hurts a little bit. And I don't think if it was a bit like the Bale overhead kick against Liverpool, I could understand it. But it was more of a kind of controlled overhead kick, and I think it could have he could have popped his head in a little bit. Look, I was at the game. It was 2-2, but I think it was probably one of the least exciting 2-2 games I've ever been to. It just felt like, despite the goals, Ben, nothing else really happened. I can't really remember us making any clear cut chances. Burton obviously got their goals. Both of them were kind of in deflected circumstances. They could have had a third in the last minute, but they absolutely spooned that. But apart from that, I don't really remember much incident in either penalty boxes.
Well, there's one key incident that we'll probably need to talk about, but
Which is
outside
that
of
bit?
that,
Because I genuinely can't remember.
the foul on NG.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. For me, it's not a foul, but you carry on.
Do you not think?
No. So basically, my opinion on it is that the guy slides in and NG maybe catches his foot and kind of falls to the floor. I don't think it's enough to give a penalty. I can see why people think it's a penalty, but I don't think it's enough to give a penalty. I did think it was in real time. It happened right in front of me. I was like, never a penalty.
I thought every time I look at it, I still can't see how it wasn't given as a penalty. I think that's mad. I thought you'd be. Yeah, I'm surprised you don't think it is. I was convinced it was a penalty. Still am convinced it's a penalty. He's come through. He's not touched the ball. He's made contact with NG. NG's gone down. It's a foul. I don't disagree that NG's made the most of it.
So my question would be: has he made contact with NG, or has NG made contact with him? And I think that's the difference, right? If the referee had given it, I could see why the referee would give it, and I can see why people think it's a penalty. But in my opinion, the guy slid in, and you could say should he be sliding in or whatever else. He doesn't get the ball, but has NG been caught by him, or has NG put his foot down and just clipped the defender? And I think that's where the referee's probably gone with it, right? Because the defender hasn't, in theory, made direct contact with him. NG's just stepped on him as he's come down. And is that enough to give a penalty? I don't know. And that's why I didn't think it was a penalty.
I also think you're giving far too much credit to the referee there, because again, another odd performance from a League One referee. It's taken us 27 minutes to mention it, but yeah, odd performance from that referee.
Look, I'm going to sit here and say that I didn't really think it was standout bad on Saturday. And I don't know if that's... And I just thought it was a very weird game of football, so I might be missing a lot of things. But I didn't think the referee performance was abject as we've seen as others referees this season.
I don't think he's like top 10 bad, but I still don't think it was particularly good. There was a lot of fouls either way where he was just hopeless for both sides. It's weird.
Maybe that's why I didn't think it was that bad, because it was kind of going either way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm just saying that it didn't stand out to me as particularly bad, but then also the whole game kind of passed me by.
Yeah, it wasn't a classic.
Yeah,
it is good
like
that
Wickham New Year's Day, I was viscerally angry at how bad the referee was. Stockport at home, I was furious at how bad the referee was. In this game, it was just kind of like, you know?
I think I was pissed off still from the penalty, so I was a bit more than So yeah, I still think it is. Like I'll say, I'm convinced it was a penalty. Still am, and it'll take some going to convince me it's not. But
different opinions. I could see why the referee, like I said, I could see why the referee would have given it, but it just felt like to me that the defender didn't make direct contact with NG, and NG puts his foot on him, and it's like it's almost a bit too controlled from NG, because he kind of looks to find him a little bit, and I could see if the referee had given it, I would have no complaints, and I don't think Burton fans could really have any complaints. But at the same time, even in real time, if you look at the highlights, you can go on Instagram, YouTube, you can see the highlights. Everyone's going mental. And what am I stood like, Ben?
You've got your arms crossed like a disappointed teacher catching you skiving at lunchtime, yeah.
Exactly. You can see it. You can't miss me. I'm in a grey jacket to the right of the screen. Everyone's waving their arms, and I've just sat there like that. Like,
it's unbelievable, the look. You look so disappointed. It's not like I pissed myself when you said, "Can you spot me?" And as soon as I spotted you, I properly giggled, because you are just there like so unamused, as if like you're telling someone off. I'm all for it.
Sam CCFC says defending for their equaliser was really poor. I thought we seem to make it hard work on these away trips, but at this point in the season, get a couple more wins on the road and keep winning at home now. Let's talk about our goals, then we'll talk about defending for their goals. Lovely first goal, Ben. Lovely bit of play. Cross comes in, Robertson slams it home. Was Callum Robinson offside? He is, but is he interfering with the keeper, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those ones where if it was given, I'd be pissed off, but you can see why it was given. there's appeals there, probably not enough to sort of give it. But yeah, I do think it's like the other week. If there's VAR, I don't know if that's getting given.
Oh, someone's agreeing with me. Phil Will, the ref was just a typical League One ref, allowed fouls and shirt pulling, but he got the penalty decision right. Anyone else want to
Fifth with.
argue against that? Yeah, fifth with. Anyone want to argue against that and be on Ben's side about it not being a penalty? Yeah, I thought it was. I think in VAR terms, that goal might get overturned because they can analyze it and go, he's offside. Is he in front of the keeper's line? Who can honestly say? And I think at that level, it does get overturned. But I think in League One, it's a goal all day because the linesman's probably not even keeping up with play. I always
we ignore that what Savigma's just sent us on. Have you seen his thing on the Twitter notifications?
I haven't. No,
it's odd.
Reasons why V from Ninian is goated. They're good, great banter. It really is. Diverse time zones, unbelievable vibes. Pro-tan, good lads. Profanity, pro-lib dem, absolute scenes.
So confused.
Pro-lib dem.
No.
Lib dem ambivalent. Graham MBE says definitely took NG leg, no contact with the ball whatsoever. So we're 2 for 2 at the moment, Ben. I've got one person on side. You've got one person on side. Thank you, Graham, for getting it.
Yeah, my lad's got an MBE though, so
yeah.
Does that help? Or yeah, fifth with, yeah.
It's with Puscod on his burner account. I thought Robinson's finish for the second goal was really impressive. In terms of how it bounced up and his composure just to knock it home. He could have snatched at it. He could have taken a touch, and it could have been wildly different. But that, we've had a lot to say about Robertson this season. He's let himself down in different games with his inability to keep restrained and try and get a second yellow card when he's already been booked. But it was a pretty controlled performance from him on Saturday, wasn't it? And he was one of our better players.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? You look at like Robertson against Barnsley, gets booked after 5 minutes and then gets taken off at half time. It's brave of BBM to put him straight back in, and he didn't slag him off. He was sort of that aggression is what I like from him. It's good management again from him, and he responded because he was brilliant. I think like when he's on form and he plays well, you can see why Pompey fans loved him so much down there because he's just a handful and knows how to chip in with goals. I missed his first one. I'll be honest, I was still in the shower, but
I saw you tweet that.
Yeah,
I missed it. I missed it because I was trying to get into the stand. So there we go. Yeah, David Goddard says defender went reckless, nowhere near the ball. Pen, but we don't get pens unless we're already relegated. Have we had any? How many penalties have we had this season?
1. Salek scored.
Yeah, I think so. I'll look it up. I'll have a little look-see while we're here. Let's talk about their second goal. Sam CCFC has already commented saying defending for that equaliser was really poor, I thought. It's a free kick, Ben. It spoons up, and at that point, it kind of goes anywhere. At the time, you could see Chambers and NG kind of waving for offside, but I don't think it was anywhere near offside. Do you think they were caught out? Do you think it's just really bad defending? Do you think they were a bit sluggish? It's really hard to tell who exactly is at fault, but they all seem to make a mistake for it.
Yeah, weren't alert, were they? I think it's just your basic. They weren't ready for it. They took it, and we prayed that it was offside. An offside would get called, but it wasn't. Yeah. Certainly wasn't offside. So, yeah, it's just one of those. It's a poor goal to concede, and I don't think we'll concede too many of them. I think you look at how we've gone this year. There's not been too many goals conceded like that from set pieces, and I can't imagine it'll happen again. I think the players will be very well drilled on that.
I think so. Penalties. We've had 1 penalty this season. We are joint 20th in the league with Barnsley, Bolton and Port Vale. Guess the team we've had the most penalties this season.
Stockport.
Close. They're second with 6. So you can shove that up your asses, you moaning wankers from Stockport. Loads of penalties, and you've missed 2/3 of them. Idiots. No, 1/3 of them. They've missed 1/3 of them. They scored 2/3 of them. Luton have the most, 7 penalties. Northampton in third with 5, and they've also only scored 60% of them, so they've got the worst conversion rate as well as the third most.
Northampton are 1 place above the relegation zone. They've got 5 penalties, and they barely get the ball in the box. We get the ball, like this year especially, we've been in the box a lot. We've had 1 penalty. That's just odd, isn't it?
It's really odd, but I think it's as BBM talked about after the Stockport game. It's Salek is basically immune from being fouled, and it's because he's a big lad. Whenever he goes near the box and someone pushes or pulls his shirts, it's not given. It's ridiculous, really, because he's been fouled so many times in the box. The amount of times that we've seen corners go in and pushing and pulling, or the referee warns against the pushing and pulling, the corner comes in, and he just conveniently forgets that he's warned about it. It's absolutely ridiculous. Before we move on from the Burton game, I guess I need to address some allegations that have been made about me in the social media space. Reese Lasky says it's more than odd. It's straight up not right. And I will address those now. It wasn't right what I did on Saturday at Burton Albion. It was Andrew Madden with the tweet. I said hello to him in the toilet. I didn't think anything of it. I'd snuck in through the back door because there were two doors. Go on, Ben, you're going to say something.
You said hello while pushing straight past him and sticking his face in the sink, I heard.
Did not do that. They're the guy that says if Joel C doesn't get that pen at Wimbledon, then we have no hope. That was the one I was thinking about. It was so blatant. It was so blatant. So I'll picture the scene. The Burton Albion toilets were not made for more than 18 people. And obviously there's an indoor and an outdoor. Now, I've not been to many toilets that specify that one is in and one is out. Usually it's a bit of a free-for-all. So I saw the fact that the outdoor was empty, even though there's a queue in front of the indoor. And I walked straight in, beat the queue, got into the front of the cubicle and had a wee. All the while saying hello to Andrew. And he didn't say anything at the time. He said podcast privilege. I went, no, I just get stage fright. I just get stage fright. It's true. I do. I get stage fright and I saw my opportunity to have a wee and I got out of there. I would like to issue an apology to everyone who's listening, everyone watching this, and Andrew himself personally. I didn't mean to cause offence. I was just really desperate for a wee. And sometimes these things overcome you. And I did that, and I went for my wee. And it was a lovely wee after my pint of Carling. I had a pint of Carling because we were in the home of Carling. Delicious it was. It was quite a nice bar setup, actually, at Burton. I'll give him.
Was it delicious? Was Carling delicious? Has it ever been delicious?
You know, like Guinness tastes better when you're in Dublin. Carling tastes better when you're in the fun tread. I will say, Burton, for a small town, had a great selection of boozers. The Devonshire in particular was my favourite. Went to the Devonshire and I had a local drop, Ben. You might have heard of it. Tiny Rebel Club Tropica. Don't know if you've heard of that.
I don't know. Yeah, that rings a bell.
Rings a bell. Local to Burton it is. But what I will say is that I learned Carling as a brewery. Do you know what other continental lagers they brew? This blew me away. So at the Carling Brewery in Burton, they brew Madry, Carling. They're your main two that are coming from that brewery. What else is coming from that brewery? What other continental lovely lagers that you think you see on tap and you go, God, that's premium, come from the Carling Brewery?
If you say Moretti now, I'm going to be heartbroken.
I didn't see a sign for Moretti. I only saw a sign for two beers. So it might be them. But these two beers, Moretti wasn't one of them.
I don't know. I'll give up then. San Miguel?
No, that's Filipino. Stara Praman and Prava.
What?
They're brewed in. I assume they're either brewed on license or they're just another like Madry, like made up by them, and it's all marketing. But I love a pint of Stara Praman. I was shocked.
Yeah, that's done me. If that's the case, Stara Praman has done me. I was convinced that was like a continental beer.
Not so well continental to Burton. Graham MBE says had to be better than the old Bob Bank toilet. Never knew it was raining on you or someone else's piss is blowing on you. I wasn't
to ask that those days, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wasn't blowing my piss anyone. Right, let's go to Twitter, twitter.com/VFT Ninian. We had a few tweets. We'll also talk about transfers shortly, and then we'll round it off. Kian says, with Ben's urinal mishaps on Saturday, Jesus, it got me thinking, who's the most famous person you've met in his services? Ben, have you met anyone famous in his services?
Services. I saw Adrian Chiles once by services by Oxford Way. That was quite random. But yeah, probably piss-wise, no. But I did once have a pee in a pub in London next to Ben Fogle.
Nice. That's good. I don't think I've ever met anyone famous in his services. The most famous person I've pissed next to is probably George North.
That's quite good.
Rugby player. That is quite good. He was pissed.
I was tempted once, and this is bad. We went to watch Deadpool 2. Is it Deadpool 2? Anyway, it's one of those. We were at the View Cinema by the Millennium Stadium, and Wits was in the same cinema, and he did go into the toilet, and part of me thought, could I follow him? No, that'd be weird. And I drew the line there. I could have. Didn't, because that would have been weird. But part of me did think, could go and say hello to him when he's having a wee. But I didn't.
Yeah, shake his hand.
Good, no?
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry about washing it with. Reece Spears says, unless we sign a 33-year-old
Gets
today,
DNA.
yeah. Unless you sign a 33-year-old today, this would be the first window that is closed without a player older than me in the squad. As we're all 30-somethings, thought I'd share that depressing realization. Yeah, that is quite depressing. Chris Bradwick, what was your favourite ale in Burton? Club Tropica. Lee Sanders, now we have Isaac and Isaac Davis. What other football duos can BBM bring in if we get promoted this summer? Nico and Nico Williams tearing up the championship for us would be something special. Michael and Michelle Owen on Club Comms. Spears says, took a shit next to Jamie Roberts at Costco once, and it wasn't a nice experience. Rugby boy diets, eh? Reece Spears says, yes, I'm older than the squad. Don't worry, me too. Who else could be signed? Dual names. Bring them in. Come on, Ben.
First one that was in my head was Nico and Nico Williams, because that would be lovely.
Yeah, we could sign. There was another Aaron Ramsey, wasn't there?
Yeah, he plays for Aston Villa. Is he at Villa? No, he's at Newcastle now, isn't he? He's gone there. Or no, Jacob Ramsey's gone to Newcastle. One of the Ramseys. There was an Aaron Ramsey at Villa.
There is an Aaron Ramsey who plays for Burnley now, and he's on loan at Leicester. We could sign both Aaron Ramseys.
Go for that. Yeah, why not?
Fifth Wiss says, I thought it spotted Ben James at Heston, but it turned out to be Harmar Superstar. Incredible reference. I haven't thought about Harmar Superstar in years. Go on, Ben. What are the duos? You can't.
JJ Okocha.
There's not two.
He's named twice.
Yeah, but there's not two JJ Okochas. Lee Spear and Reece Spear, left and right wing. Politics or... Anyway, Harry Dickens. Will Ben be taking the South Yorkshire Supertram to the New York Stadium on Saturday? Remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. I've been to Rotherham before, and if I can avoid repeating that experience, I will. Ellis Roderick, with the addition of Scanlon, now we have 2 players for every position. In the unlikely scenario when everyone is fit, which 4 players miss out on the match day squad, ignoring King, who's out for the season? We talked about this off air. Matt Turner.
Yep.
Who else did you say, Ben? With Fitch? With
Postcard.
I think Osho Chambers and Lawler get ahead of him. I said potentially Capacchio.
Yeah. I could go with that.
And then in midfield, who do we say? Isaac or Keane?
So I went Joel Colwell, I think, at the moment.
You did say Joel Colwell as well.
If you're looking at your best team out of all of them with the players available in King's, obviously King's out. Yeah, it probably is at the moment Colwell. I think Turnbull's been really impressive, and the balance he brings to that midfield, especially in certain games, I think Colwell misses out. And then it's a toss-up then between Isaac Davis or Keane Ashford. For me, Ashford misses out at the moment, but it's 50. There's not much in it at all.
I agree. I think it's very hard to pick, actually. GG the Bluebird says, did the lino on Saturday think there was VAR? A few times he put his flag up really late. Sven says, don't listen to TikTok and eat apricot kernels and poor stewarding. Matt Bluebird says, why are Wintle, NG and Bagan not tied down to new contracts yet, in your opinion? I don't think it's a case of they're not tied down yet. I think there's talks ongoing. I think, especially Bagan and Wintle, we'd be stupid not to tie them down. NG, I wonder if he thinks he's got another move in him or something like that. This is just my general hunch on things. He might be looking, especially with his Singapore credentials, he might be looking at where he might want to go next to kind of bolster that. I don't know. But I imagine there's talks ongoing. So I'm not too worried about it yet. We've still got 3 or 4 months till the end of the season. I think it'll be fine.
The NG is interesting with that Singapore stuff, isn't it? I think it wouldn't surprise me if he went and played in Asia somewhere to make it easier to get the passport. Because I think he's desperate to play international football for him. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if that was a move he made. It'd be a shame, but I think it wouldn't. Yeah, it could happen.
Rick Lewis says, do you think we could have beaten Burton if Salek was fit? Also, should BBM have stuck with Kellyman Munn up front after he played so well there against Barnsley midweek? We seem to struggle against the teams lower down in the league for some reason. I think we're still not sure. Like we're still not used to having to break down teams. I remember when Wales were trying to qualify for Euro 2016. I think we played Israel at home, and it was the 0-0 draw game, and they just came and camped out. And I think we're still struggling with that a little bit because Burton, for the fact they scored 2 goals, they didn't really attack. And I think that was the thing. Like, we're just not 100% sure still up against teams who just camp out. Same with Wigan, really. Same with Burton at home. Same with Stevenage away. When teams are a bit more open like Barnsley, we get a lot more joy. David Charles, what could be done by fans and clubs to get the EFL to address the poor standard of officiating? The ref we had on Saturday was awful for both teams. I think, sadly, it's just it's just an occupational hazard in this division. They're crap because they're not full-time. They're doing other things. Like championship referees generally are now all full-time. These referees are, it's a second job to them, frankly. And Christo says, guessing the club happy with Darlin staying out in Dusseldorf for the remainder of the season. Not heard anything said about him or how he's getting on. I looked it up. He's played about 16 games. It was a season-long loan, so I can't imagine we had a recall notice on it. So I'm sure he's going to be staying out there, and I think it'll probably become permanent. I like Darlin. I don't see how it fits. I don't see how he fits in with the current team. Let's talk about transfers. Let me just see. There's a couple of questions in here. Let me just go through it quickly before we move on and talk about transfers. No, I can't really see him. I don't know where they've gone. Transfer window is slammed shut, Ben. Jonathan Mordica says, who's the next Callum we can target in the summer after we signed another Callum in Callum Scanlon from Liverpool? My guess would be Callum Connolly from Stockport, just to piss them off. Who would you like to sign as a Callum?
I'd like Callum O'Dowd back, but he's having a lovely time out in Hungary. I don't think Callum's not the one we need to target. We've fallen well below our Joe quota in the squad. I've just realised we've got Joel, but no Joe, and I think that hurts.
Have you noticed how Joe Colwell is Colwell and Ruben Colwell is Colwell? People like to say Colwell when it comes to Joe Colwell. Anyway, transfer window slammed shut. Joel Colwell. Transfer window slammed shut. Ben Price. Look, we signed 2 players. Signed Harry Tyra on our permanent deal from Everton to come in as another goalkeeper, and we signed Callum Scanlon, badly needed left fullback cover for Joel Bagan. How happy are you with the window? We didn't lose anyone important. We didn't really see any departures. We've kept the squad together. We've bolstered it in the places we probably needed to bolster it. I'm relatively happy. How are you feeling?
I'm delighted with it. I think the one thing we didn't want is bringing bodies in for the sake of it. I think the Scanlon target, we targeted him in the summer as well. Same with Trier. They're players that have been well scouted. We know they're suitable for us. So we've brought them in because they've got a role to fill. It's not just a case of bringing someone in for the sake of it. And that's huge because otherwise you end up with absolute shite. We've done it for years now. So that change, again, that shows the change in sort of ethos around the club, and the thinking is just completely done a 180 on that, which is huge. And most importantly, we didn't lose any players. I think it's going to be a completely different story in the summer. I think there's no way we don't lose a couple of players then. But for January and sort of the promotion push, keeping the core of this squad together is huge.
Yeah, I think some of the questions that came in, we're looking at this one here, after all the fanfare about some of our younger talent and bigger clubs and potential bids, was it luck we kept them or genius BBM keeping them from the limelight and matchday squads during January? I just think, my voice went a bit funny then. I just think if we were going to sell in January, they were always going to come back on loan or something like that. I think the summer is where we really have to worry with our younger players, because you're going to have people like Dylan Lawler who will have spent. I know, I think my friend's a Tottenham fan, and he said that Tottenham have sent scouts down to watch him. There's been reports of German scouts at the games. Obviously, there was the links to Bayern Munich and all that kind of stuff. People like Lawler and Capacchio will attract interest in the summer. Whether we can keep them or not is another matter. If they go, if Lawler goes to Bayern Munich, maybe we can negotiate a loan back for 6 months so we keep him and he gets more game time, because he's not going to dive straight into the Bayern Munich team. So the summer is where we have to worry. As Cal says here, we're just glad we kept everyone. And I think that was the key thing in this window, was keeping everyone together and adding in those key positions. Like, Ben, you mentioned it already there, but 2 windows ago, obviously we signed David Turnbull and Jeju on loan. I think we needed a striker potentially, but we didn't need Jeju. He wasn't the striker we needed. We signed last season. We signed Salek in the January transfer window, but we also signed Mansverk. And I didn't mind Mansverk, but he wasn't a player who was going to set us apart and keep us up with his performances last season. I think we've done the most sensible thing, and that's trust Brian Barry Murphy in believing that his squad is good enough. We have a smaller squad. I've seen people talk about we needed to bolster attacking lineups. We need to sign players to kind of fill gaps and plug potential spaces in the team. But we can't buy these players and then expect them to come in and sit on the bench. If you're going to sign a player in January, especially a loan player from a bigger club, like Scanlon might be the exception that proves the rule, because obviously he's going to be behind Bagan for the large part, but he's going to come in and out of the team on a weekly basis. There's probably an agreement there. But other clubs are going to want to send players so they can play, as we're doing with people like Mafiko to Yeovil, with Reindorf to Tamworth. There's the expectation they're going to play. And we've made such a big thing this season about trusting our young players, and now all of a sudden we're saying we need to bring an extra winger in. So we're going to bring a winger in to dislodge Tanner, Ashford, and Davis, who all need game time. Willock, who's been one of our most productive players. We need to bring in another striker. So we're going to dislodge Callum Robinson, who was our top scorer last season, and Yusuf Salek, who's our top scorer this season. It just doesn't. It doesn't seem feasible to me. And I think we have smaller squads in League One. There's only 22 people registered within our squad. Yes, I know there's the homegrown rule and all that kind of stuff. We have 2 less players in the match day squad. So therefore, you can't have just 2 extra players on the bench getting game time with the last 10, 15 minutes. So not signing anyone with the expectation that they would come in and then play no matter what was the best thing we could do. And I think if BBM says we don't need anyone, Rob Westall Music says, evening lads, evening Rob. If BBM says we don't need anyone, we should trust him and just go, yep, he's right, we don't need anyone. And trust our youth players to see us through to the end of the season. The season is going to get easier now in the sense of we're not playing every Saturday and Tuesday. We've played so many games at the start of the season. Graham MBE says we could have ended up with another Horvath and Kanga. And that's exactly it. Like, we got rid of Horvath this window. He came in 2 windows ago in January. And yeah, he wasn't bad for a bit, but we had him, Alnick, just sat around on the books. We've trimmed our squad. We're saving money, and it sets us up lovely for the end of the season when we would need to sign players if we do get promoted.
Yeah.
Although I did say well last night that I would trust BBM if he just wanted to keep this squad together. So
yeah, and I agree with that. But I think the big thing, you're right when you're saying like it's a smaller squad, and no club is going to send like Biancheri, for example. Like, it was loads of people saying we need another striker. You're not dislodging 2 players that should be playing the Championship. Both of our strikers should be playing Championship football. I know Robbo has got his critics at the moment, which I still find bizarre considering his output is for the limited minutes he's had. But Biancheri is not going to come in and sit 3rd choice striker. Man United aren't going to have that. No. Someone from Man City isn't going to come here and sit on the bench and be 5th choice winger. It's not going to happen. Put faith in it and then sort of plug the gaps with players that we think are sort of ready to make that step up. We saw that is it the young which one of the youngsters from the EFL trophy was on the bench against Burton. Spears has just been recalled.
Tanky.
Yeah, that's the one I couldn't remember who it was. And Tanky came in. Spears has just been recalled despite going on loan because there's clearly a need there, and we're sort of looking at it going, he'll probably benefit us better having him there. So it's not a panic there. I think like Cole's coming back. You're not going to bring in a number 10. Cole is probably end of the month. He'll be back in the match day squads.
Salek a week or 2 away if that, if his injury improves.
And even if they don't, it's not exactly a bad option to have Kellyman as playing the false 9. It gives us, it's another string to the bow. It's another option that sort of teams have to prep for and be ready for. We've got options again there. There was just no need to panic and sort of go out. It was nice to have a quiet window where we knew no one was going out. We knew no one was going in, and the business was done. We can just focus on prep for Saturday and sort of a huge game against Rotherham.
David Goddard's asked, is it a concern if we go into the Championship next season with a lot of the players that got us relegated last time around? I honestly think no. And I think BBM has, if you look at the job that BBM did in the summer in terms of turning us around from a relegated team where he had to integrate so many young players into the squad that hadn't necessarily played first team football before or had only played a little bit of football before, or people like Ryan Wintle who'd been sent away and come back, Joel Bagan, who was out of favour a little bit over the last couple of seasons. He's been sent away on loan, he's come back, and a lot of people were writing him off before the season started. BBM's turned Joel Bagan into the biggest chance creator in this division. He's made more chances than any other player. If he can do that with players like Bagan, then I absolutely trust him to take us into the Championship. It might not be the whole squad, but with the bulk of this squad, Lawler, Fish, Chambers, Osho, they're Championship ready. NG's Championship ready. Wintle's Championship ready. The Colwells are Championship ready. Salek is Championship ready. Robinson, Willock, whoever else. They're all Championship ready. So why not just trust him to get a song out of those players in the Championship next season? I absolutely do. We should back him, right?
Oh, massively. We've got rid of the one thing we did in the summer, the one thing we've done in January is get rid of the deadwood. I think a lot of the problem players that caused us to go down have gone. There's no one here sort of. Sorry, BBM didn't take us down. A lot of regulars got released from last season. If we go up, we're a different animal to the team that came down. Yeah. I completely agree with that. It's a completely different way of playing. There's belief there, and don't underestimate how important that is when you go up. If we go up as champions with the winning mentality in that squad, it's huge. We've seen what it's done to Ipswich. There's a reason that not many teams that sort of get promoted go straight back down to League One. because there's so many teams in that championship doing what we've done the last few years and circling the drain, that when you get that new lease of life, it gives you that head start. You've got that belief there. You're not going into a negative sort of atmosphere. And that's huge. It's massive. And it was impressive that we sort of turned that around so quickly with BBM at our place. Because look at Plymouth. They've only just started to get going now.
Yeah.
Luton took a while to get going. So, yeah, I'm not worried at all about going up with this squad. I'm worried if we lose a few, we've got to replace them. But if we're losing a few for good money, then we'll have the budget there to replace them, sort of put up a charge and sort of aim for mid-table, possibly try and chance a playoff push.
And frankly, as much as people like Capaccio are good players, they're not they're not necessarily the most worrying players if we do sell, because Capaccio started the season really well, but he hasn't been playing that much. And I think if we're going to lose players like that for £8 to £10 million, that's not the end of the world. As much as I would love, as Rob Westall says here, my only concern is Tan cashing in there's a chance to build something special. I would love us to build something special around people like Capaccio, but there's going to be consequences of this. And if these players are catching their eyes, their heads are going to be turned. There's going to be interest in them. So that is what it is. Rob Westall also says Colwell and Salek will be like new signings. Cal says, wouldn't mind seeing Isaac up front for a game. Wouldn't mind that either. Let's talk about Rotherham on Saturday, Ben, before we round off for the evening. Rotherham in the relegation zone. They haven't been performing that well, but the last couple of games they put together some results. They've drawn with Wimbledon, they've beaten Northampton, and they beat Exeter 4-0 Saturday just gone. It's important we go there and get a win, isn't it? Especially after our away form has kind of dipped in the last few weeks. I think Alex Bennett asked us on Instagram, have we got any concerns about away form? I haven't. With 4 games basically unbeaten away from home, it's important for us to get points if we're not going to win games, and we've been doing that, but we would need a win on Saturday, don't we?
Yeah, I think it's away from home, you need to be looking at beating these sides. I think people are just a little bit freaked out because we drew with Burton. I think
it's the first time I've seen a bit of an overreaction to things properly.
Yeah, it was weird. It felt old school. It was, in a way, refreshing to see. But yeah, I'm not too worried about it. You look at like the Burton result. If we'd swapped it around, got a draw at Bradford and won at Burton, people wouldn't be freaking out like this. But we've got 4 points from 2 away games. That's ideal. If you can make that 7 from 3, that's again promotion.
It looks a lot better.
It is promotion. Yeah, it's promotion pushing again. Rather than just outside the playoffs relegation zone, you've got it's definitely a place that we're looking to put pressure on them again and sort of. I think we're the best side in this league. I think someone said earlier, do we see us sort of dropping points, or do we maintain this gap?
Yeah,
we might drop second every now and again, but I don't see us falling out the top 2 for the rest of the year as long as things stay as they are. And I think winning on Saturday goes a long way to securing that. I think it'll be a big one because again, it's swapped. There's been a lot of change in that sort of playoff picture now. Bolton is suddenly a lot more in it than I thought they were, but they're still 6 points off Lincoln, and Lincoln have got a game in hand. Stockport,
they're 8 points off, 8 points of us, and we've got a game in hand on them. So, like in theory, if we win that game, we go 11 points clear of third.
Yeah, I think it's the aim of the game this season is promotion. Winning the title's a massive bonus, a lovely little bonus at the end. But it's just all about now just ticking along. Performances will be great, but it is just picking up points now and making sure we don't lose many. I think if we can finish this season with losing 8 games, that'll pretty much guarantee us promotion.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing between now and the end of the season is beating those teams that are in and around us. We've got to play Lincoln at home. We've got to play Bolton at home. We've got Huddersfield to go to. We've got to play Luton at home. If we can get 12 points out of those 4 games, or even 9 points and we lose one of them, or 10 points, we draw one of them, whatever it may be, if we can remain unbeaten against those and we keep the gap up against us. This is a question that I'm going to finish up on. Question for you, lads. Rotherham next 7th of Feb. However, on the 14th, we have Luton. What year did we last play Luton on Valentine's Day, and what was the result? Bonus points for who scored. It was 2006. We played Luton away from home at Kenilworth Road. It was 3-3, I think it was. Jason Kumas definitely scored. And I think we had a goal disallowed that would have won the game for us. I'm pretty sure that is the correct answer. K. James, tell me if I'm right or wrong. I can't remember who else scored, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. So it was probably 20 years ago now. Jonathan Mordecai says, game in hand against Barnsley, who no longer have Davis Keeler done. If we don't win that, then it's worrying. Rob Westall says, impressive. Thank you very much. Talking about the jacket again, I assume. Ben, what's your prediction for Saturday?
I'll go 2-0 win.
2-0 win. Fifth Wish says people shouldn't be too bothered about Lincoln. It's the gap to third that matters. And that's correct. But I just think if we're playing Lincoln at home, it's just it's an opportunity for us to get our own back on them for beating us in pre-Christmas and just put that 3 points between us again, because they have tightened it. But if we can go back to 5 points to 8 points ahead of them, then it'll just calm everyone down, I think. I don't think it's necessarily what's happening on the pitch. It's just how tight things have gotten with Lincoln behind us is what is making people worried. Ben, you're going to go 2-0. Who's scoring?
I will go Robbo scores 1 and Willock.
I'm going to go... I said Alex Robertson would score on Saturday, but I didn't back it up. So Vigma asks, have we ever finished first in League One?
We have.
I don't think we have. No, because we went up by the playoffs in 2003. And I can't remember before that. K. James says, correct other goal by Shimmiker, Ricky Shimmiker. If you're interested, Cardiff Classic Shirts has some Ricky Shimmiker shirts available at the moment. Match worn and all that kind of good stuff. Rob Westall says 3-0 to City. That's the spirit. We're going to beat them 3-1, I reckon. I think Robertson, Willock, and I think Joel Bagan's going to score on Saturday. That's it. I didn't think we'd make an hour. We've made it to an hour. Thank you to everyone who's been watching and got involved. It's been good fun. We'll put this out as an audio podcast tomorrow, but you don't really care about that because you've just watched it. Ben Price will be back after the Rotherham game on Saturday. I just kind of didn't say anything else there, Ben. Jonathan Mordecai says Tanner Willock and Salek score is 3-0. Salek's back, then we're winning 5-0. Ben, see you on Sunday.
Ta-da.
Cheers, Rob. Bye.